we're already ascended masters to an extent. The souls that are here on the planet at this time, we're mastery, level souls. And my understanding of this timeline that we're in now is that we're here to really embody in ourselves, and that we actually, it's a descension. We come into the body, into form. And the more fully we are here inside this physicality and this vessel, the more access we actually have to stabilize higher frequency energy, data, guidance, inputs, through our bodies. We can translate it more effectively. We can see more clearly. More of our abilities come online, more of our capacity to create. Hi, I'm Sydney Campos, and I'm on Your Superior Self.
Sydney, I can't wait to have this conversation with you. Oh, like we were having a quick chat, pre-record, and you said so many things that were just so interesting to me. You're from the future. I feel like some of what you were saying are just like mind blowing. But let's start from the beginning, I guess, right? Like what's your background? Like give us some context.
Yeah. Well, I want to acknowledge, actually, I guess starting with the beginning, we start with the present. I mean, I like to say I'm from the future because I like to really work with visionaries and hang out with visionaries and people that see the future and people that are here to create the future. And I've always felt that way since I was a little kid, just feeling a little bit like I'm on the wrong planet. What is happening here? And just feeling really sensitive my whole life to suffering and inequality, and just felt like I was really in the wrong place at the wrong time for a long time. And long story short, we can go into, any details that you want later, but I, as a really sensitive being in this world, it was so hard to feel the level of depth that I feel, and the amount of information I was able to access psychically, intuitively, and all my senses, just like, really overactive, and I had no support or resource, really. I didn't have a word to describe what was going on. I had no examples around me that I could look to feel like, there wasn't something wrong with me or I wasn't crazy. And so I found drinking and partying and drugs at around 14, right when I started high school. And that really saved my life at the time. I really got to numb out my senses and just turn everything off so I could just be normal, whatever that means, and fit in and do well in school and, have friends and party. And that was really my purpose for about 10 years, doing that. And that ultimately led me to a series of near-death experiences and hospitalizations and arrests and all kinds of stuff you wouldn't even believe. And ultimately, I was faced with a choice. Do I want to die or do I want to live? And I had had that choice presented to me many times in my life. Even, a few years into my drinking, I was already kind of being faced with that option by nature of how I was behaving and the situations I was getting into. And yeah, when I was 24, I chose to really live, which meant getting sober and starting to take care of myself and meditate and get healthy and just learn about energy, and really do anything I could do to just stop feeling, like I hated myself, and learn to sit still and learn to feel and learn to, allow my intuitive gifts to come back online and not be so afraid of them, not be so afraid of feeling.
Hmm.
And then the last 12 years since then have just been a series of learnings and deepenings, and then sharing. I can't help but share, but want to share. I have this deep desire to share everything I've learned that's helped me along this path of awakening and remembering, and just like, frankly, being okay with being right here as I am now.
Hmm. The alcohol and drugs um scene in your life, do you think that was like escapism, like a form of escapism from the feeling, like
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
psychic powers or the gifts that you had, like getting away from that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I said it saved my life. I think I would have just tried to kill I mean, I did try to kill myself, but I didn't really want to kill myself. I just wanted to get attention from my parents finally, who were not really paying attention to me. But, I think alcohol and drugs at that time really saved my life, because I could just, kind of kill time essentially until I was ready to really wake up. That's how I look at it. That's how my guides will communicate to me now. They're like, you were just killing time until the frequency on this planet was such that I could actually embody and actually, come out of disassociation and come to. So yeah, I mean, it saved my life at the time. It was a medicine. I didn't have any other resources. It just was part of my path. And then also, I come from a long line of addicts and alcoholics, and I really had to understand that lineage patterning, that ancestral trauma, the origin of, alcoholism and drug addiction and really addiction, what that actually means. And I got to get up close and personal with, the origins of that type of identity and pattern. And it's something that I can now help people heal.
Well, you said waiting until the frequencies were right. Or like, is that like how long ago was that, right? Like how did you fully embody it? Like what was that like for you? I mean, just feeling my body, right? Like just finding the words. Like there's some words that I can't, no, I should say that there are emotions that I feel that I can't even describe, right? As being a male, right? Like of suppressing that from societal, like, unwritten rules and gender roles, right? Like, how did you fully embody? Like, what did that look like?
Well, I don't know if we're ever fully embodied. I think it's
Baby
infinite.
stepped embodied, huh?
Anyone who's like, I'm fully embodied, I'd give that a big red flag. I think we're infinitely growing and learning and evolving as long as we're alive. And that's the point of being alive, is learning and growing and embodying more. And I really understand what you mean and honor your awareness as a man on this planet at this time. And we're under so much pressure to be certain ways and sound a certain way and look a certain way. And there's so much pressure. I mean, I was really feeling that too when I was a teenager, starting to feel all my psychic abilities and just hypersensitive to everything. And I felt so much pressure to be and do and seem just different than how I was. And everything about how I was seemed wrong, and I had no connection to my authentic self. I was so afraid of touching into my authentic self. I had just such a fried nervous system. There's no capacity to even talk about authenticity, and so yeah, when I speak about the frequency being ripe on the planet for someone like me and maybe many others listening to kind of come online, I track that as, there's a time around, I got sober in 2011 towards the end. There's a big shift in the planetary frequency in 2012 that everybody talks about, a big timeline shift, a higher dimensional shift on this planet. So, that's like maybe part of it. But then honestly, I really feel like like this being who's talking to you now. I feel like I really came into this form at the end of like 2018 until like 2021 was like a huge milestone in my personal embodiment process where I started to really learn about how disassociated I had been, even though I was sober, even though I was teaching and coaching and doing all this awesome work in the world. I was actually still running around with a lot of fight or flight, a really dysregulated nervous system, really disassociated from feeling myself. I was really out here and in the celestial realms and being put on a pedestal, frankly, for being a channel and psychic and all these great gifts that do come from trauma, that do come from disassociation. But I didn't even know what I didn't know. And so I really track, wow, like 2021, especially when I got COVID. And that was a time of like huge initiation where I feel like I downloaded a new aspect of my soul. And I know this is true for a lot of people around that time, actually. There's a sense of the frequency on the planet being such that, there are higher dimensions now available on Earth where maybe aspects of ourselves from those higher dimensions actually could now come into resonance and be in a body in this planet.
Mm,
Prior to then, we would have been fried out if these aspects had tried to come into the body. There wouldn't have been the energetic support or resonance to do so. So it feels really recent to say, but I mean, what is time anyway? But around 2021, I'm just like, it's hard to remember sometimes really vividly before that time. It was actually on my birthday, October 11th, 2021, when I came down with the fever And it was a whole month-long integration process of just like, really dying and rebirthing.
So I have to ask you, right? Like, what process is more painful, right? Your motorcycle accident, healing from that, or ascension?
It's all ascension. I think however we look at anything. Yeah, I was in a motorcycle accident on April 29th, 2 weeks ago now, and yeah, it was a huge, I mean, everything, however we want to look at it. I'm on a path now where I just choose to see everything as an opportunity to ascend, an opportunity to grow, an opportunity to embody. And, that's just the game I like to play. And so this experience recently, it was the first like near death experience I've had in a very long time. And
Mhm.
so it was very humbling. Like I really could have died. And I'm still, to be honest, processing some shock and PTSD out of my nervous system and needing to really take it very slow and be very tender in moments. It was really shocking. And I have so much protection. I'm not used to like dangerous things happening to me anymore, and this came as a wake-up call. I was seeing for months prior, that this week, this portal that we just emerged out of, that we're still in really, this eclipse, the first week of May, leading up to the eclipse on the 5th of May. I was shown months ago when I was in Sedona that this is going to be one of the most challenging, intense, energetic update weeks we've ever seen. And it was going to be time to retreat and go inward and like not be too involved in the chaos of the world and not distribute, your energy too much. Just like really focus on yourself. And I didn't listen. And the universe gave me a wake-up call
That if you're
and
not going to
forced.
listen, I guess I'll make
Yeah,
something happen so that way you keep your ass home.
I kind of got a slap, like a slap and then like a forced retreat. And luckily, no permanent damage, but enough to like really get my attention to do the deeper inner work that, frankly, life had been signaling to me to like pay attention to for a while. And I think this is true for all of us. Our bodies and our lives are always signaling to us the seasons, right? And when it's time to go inward and when it's time to slow down and integrate and not just go, go, go.
It's funny. Have you ever heard of the law of, was it law of threes or something like that? Where, like, if it's truth, like you'll hear something like three times, right? Like something will come into your awareness like three times to kind of solidify the fact that you're on the path, right? So I've been discussing with other people um, this idea of like high tide, low tide, kind of like what you're speaking to, of like going within, like going, there are times where we need to go within, right? Um, I call it my rut. Like I get into these ruts where I just feel like nothing that I can do goes right. Like I feel like there is a resistance, a natural resistance that I'm hitting against or a wall. And I had a friend tell me, it was like we had a deep conversation where there was a reference of Jesus and how Jesus went into the desert, right? Like that was his way of going within and finding his own answers. And it was like, all right, that time is now for me. And then
Mm-hmm.
I was listening to another channel, I think it was Gabriel, and she was discussing the same things. And then now you just talked about it again. So that's three times this is coming to my reality. So it's a truth for me right now. This is my time to go within and find my own answers. There's a lesson that is in this, right? And I think that's the lesson, is that there are times when times get tough and you just don't know where you're going, where your path is leading you, and it gets frustrating and you feel lost and alone and you just get just so aggravated with the universe, and you're questioning, like, I'm doing this work, like why isn't things starting to show up for me, why aren't people coming into my life, and you feel there's a question of worth there. And um it's a time to go within. It's like renewal, like a renewal of like a different type of like confidence, like a self-confidence, like an inward confidence of like everything that you need is within you, right? Like stop looking without. There are times when you need to go out without and do external things to get things done, but there are times where you need to go within and listen. Could be because there's a next chapter that is coming and you need to be prepared for that. I
Mm.
did not mean to go on for a rant right now. Like, I'm so interested in your story, and I had to say that, right? Like, I just had this like a self realization of like the
Mhm.
law of three coming into my reality right now, and I had to mention it. Um, what are your
Oh,
thoughts on that, real quick?
thank you. Yeah, complete agreement and affirmation. And I see this as a season in so many people's lives, all my clients, all my friends. I mean, it's Mercury retrograde too. It's just the time of going in and reflecting and your understanding of value and the conversation around worth. And this is a bigger collective conversation we're all navigating that I feel personally was up in my field too the last 2 weeks, like, wow, prior to the accident, what was I doing? I was really dispersing my energy in a lot of different channels. I was on my way to go teach at a yoga festival, like, just driving on my moto like I always do out in Tulum. And I'm driving to the festival, gonna have this great weekend with my friends. But if I was really listening to my body, like that morning, I was supposed to just stay at home and like take care of myself and like meditate, do my own thing, do my own yoga practice, not go and teach at this kind of like chaotic festival. I see that my body was asking for rest. And sometimes it's just so much to go be out in the world and in the field with all these other people. And even on social media, there's just so much data we're overwhelmed with on a constant basis. And we can lose ourselves. And we have to consciously take the time to just sit still, lay down, feel yourself, breathe, bring your awareness all the way into your body and ask your body, hey, what do you actually need right now from me? Because if anything I learned from this accident, it's like we're nothing without our body. And that was the biggest message. It's like nothing else matters. Nothing. Like your body and your health, that's it. Like that is the most important thing. And then secondarily, love, connection, community, friends, like real friends that show up for you when shit hits the fan. Like who's at the hospital when you're, getting taken out of an ambulance? Who do you call?
Hmm.
That's literally all that matters. Nothing else. Social media, how many people follow you on Instagram, your book, podcast, whatever, like it doesn't matter. None of it matters. And that was a really important wake up call for me to get. And then like the last 2 weeks, just like really sit in that. Like if I know that nothing else matters but my health and well-being and my relationships, how do I revalue my life? Where am I putting my energy? Like, where do I actually need to like cut cords and cut ties, stop directing energy? And where do I need to really focus in? And that kind of discovery has to happen within you, has to be something like it's like a values redesign, and I think a lot of us are called to really be going through that right now. It's the perfect time.
Sure. Something caught my eye on the bottom of your website. It's like a little quotation here. The new paradigm of teaching is being who you truly are and embodying wisdom through your
Mm.
presence. Can you hit on that a little bit, right? Like what's the new paradigm of teaching really, right? Like is it just sitting still and being embodied, like allowing that intelligence that we are flow through you? Like is it all the or is it do you have to have all of those like you're but also you have like a you have all these certifications, right? And a ton of this experience, right? I mean, that still speaks to some of this, right?
Yeah. Thanks for naming that. I love that message. A lot of stuff I share it comes from my guides, my higher self, and it's like these little prayers, like remember why you're here. Your purpose is to be an example. They'll always say that. It's like that's part of my purpose is to be an example, not in a way of like servitude or like saving the world, but just to like be an example of presence in a world where people are starved for true connection and authenticity.
Hmm.
And that mostly I want to be that so I can give that gift to myself. And so I speak about the new paradigm of teaching after having gone through like probably a decade of
Like your resume is like 5 pages long. New
I just
paradigm of teaching is
oh,
be fully embodied in the intelligence that you are.
you're so sweet. I've done like so much training. I've done just the deep dive of like every modality, like I've done what feels like everything that I've needed to do to heal my body to just be alive and to be like pretty happy being alive. And so I've done it all. It's been a long journey and I'm grateful for it. And, I've seen and worked with a lot of teachers that are really good at teaching about concepts and, riffing on information and delivering things in a really hypnotic, catchy way. And now what I really look for in a teacher is someone that is embodying what they're saying. And sometimes they're not saying so much. They're actually just someone that I can't stop watching because of the way that they're being, because their energy is so present and their nervous system is so calm and their spirit is so free. And those are the people that I want to be around. And that's who I want to be associated with. And that to me is like the new paradigm of teaching. It's like being who you are. And maybe you're not even teaching, but your presence is teaching. Your presence is an example.
Yeah, I'm trying to learn how to be a teacher, right? And I that just hits. Like that just quote that quotation hits because it's not about having all the certifications. I am I'm analytical side of me is like you need to have,
So funny.
you need to have the bachelor's, right? Like you have to have the bachelor's in psychology, you have to have the graduate degree in counseling, in order to be worthy of teaching philosophy or theories or therapeutic processes and things like that, right? But the truth, right? Like, but you're talking about presence, just being in the presence of someone, a master or a teacher, right? Of just, and they're not even having to say anything, like just being in that presence and allowing that to flow.
Yeah, you reminded me of something funny. For the longest time, people were asking me, like, make a certification program for Akashic Records. Like, I was just having people come out of nowhere. I wasn't even advertising that I teach this, but people were just coming to me. I was doing sessions and energy healing for a long time. And then people were like, can you teach me how to do this? And I would just, mentor people and teach them. And then they started asking, can you make a program? Can you make a certification? Like, I want to show people that I'm certified in this. And I felt like, no, I don't want to be like everyone else and have to have a certification. Like God certifies you. Like you certify yourself to be who you are. Like you don't need a piece of paper to tell you what you already are. And side note, how many like kind of, I want to say like assholes have like all these degrees and are people I don't even want to ever talk to, but they have all these degrees and certifications and it means nothing about their embodiment or capacity to hold space for deep, meaningful transformation. And so, eventually though, I was like, well, instead of being irritated at the status quo, let me make a certification program, which is, guess what? Just something you make up. And, people agree that it means something. And it does mean something. I made a certification program for Akashic facilitation, which is a training I developed around Akashic records, guidance, multidimensional energy healing, and I would say nervous system healing, and really teaching people how to hold a very attuned, clear, present space in which transformation, remembrance naturally happens and miracles happen. And we have a certification program with 70 people that have graduated through it all over the world. And it's incredible, but this question of worthiness, I've worked with so many brilliant healers and teachers all over the place in the last, my career. And it's like, this question comes up a lot. They're like, am I able to do this? Am I allowed? Do I have permission? When will it be my time to share this work? Like, I need to get another degree. I need to get another thing, another training, then I'll be ready. If you feel the calling to be of service, you're ready. Don't wait. Someone is literally waiting for your help. Like it's so selfish to wait and think that you have to be perfect or different or certified or validated by somebody else before you can get out there and start helping people. Now, I want to say too, there's such a thing as integrity and being honest about your capacity. Like, do you have the capacity to do the kind of work that you really want to do? Have you really, taken responsibility for your nervous system and, understanding your shadows and traumas and learning some facilitation techniques? Then yeah, there's amazing programs you can do to just learn and remember probably what you already know at the soul level, which you've done in other lifetimes. That's usually what we're doing if we're honest. But I just feel like so often people are way too hard on themselves, and there's this perfectionistic quality, especially amongst healers, that I see so prevalently. They're just like, I want to be perfect. I want to just have it all ready and figured out. And frankly, some control shadow there too. before it's like, just get out there and practice. Your style is going to evolve. You're going to learn more through giving and sharing and helping people than you ever are through any program.
Hmm. Well, what is your when you sit with a client, what does that look like?
It depends. I mean, I do business coaching and, strategy. I'm a startup founder and I've started my career in marketing and advertising. And so I love creating companies and businesses, but I always do that in the lens of like, energy mastery, intuition, and multidimensional healing. So, people come to me for all kinds of different things. And when I am with them in a session and we're in an agreement field to have a container around a certain intention, I just listen. I ask them, what's your intention? What are you here for? I'll usually get some intuitive psychic guidance about how to proceed, whether that's with strategy, architecture, energy healing, channeling, all of the above. And in presence, everything that we need is here. It's all revealed. In the beginning of my coaching journey, when I first did my training, there was a bit more of a logical attachment to like how a session goes and having an agenda. And my business background as well was like, an agenda, a program. And I still have a great balance of organization and programs and templates and things like that. But there's no control. There's no attachment to how things need to go. There's an intention and a desire, and then we meet to attune and practice meeting in presence and allow for our higher guidance to come through and show us exactly what we need to see, what we need to feel, what we need to build, what we need to start, templating together. So it's pretty magical. I love working with all the awesome visionaries I get to play with.
What are your psychic abilities? Like, what does that look like, right? When you sit with someone, what do you pick up on? Like, what is it that your spider senses are like shouting to you? Like, can you pick up on things? Like, if people have gifts that they don't know about?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, absolutely. That might have been a psychic insight of yours into my abilities. I have a gift of really seeing how people can see. So that's why I'm naturally, a teacher of psychics and intuitives, and I can really help them understand and affirm what they're already doing. I mean, everyone's psychic, everyone's intuitive, everyone's empathic. Just most people don't awaken those abilities because there's so much training and conditioning in our society to like shut them down and shut them off. And there's the witch wound and the fear of being, you know, excommunicated from society if you're different and all of that, right? And so, yeah, one of my gifts is to really see somebody's gift and to help them affirm that in themselves and then refine the way that they want to express that and share it, whether it be through a healing practice or a business creation or whatever it may be. And I love helping people bring vision into form. I mean, I feel like that's why we're alive. It's like we're here to be fully alive as ourselves and create heaven on earth and create beauty and create the things that we wish existed.
Really, right? Like, so the idea that we're here, well, I guess you said evolution, right? I guess that this is a school, right? Like this reality is a school and that we're here to learn and evolve. And like, I don't know. I feel like I, I, I definitely agree that we're here to evolve as consciousness, right?
Hmm.
I think it's a little unfair that if it is a schoolhouse, like why don't we remember the last grade that we were in? You know what I mean? Like we should at least remember algebra that we did last year because I don't want to relearn that shit, right? Like, um, yeah, I think I get it, right? Like I'm sure there are lifetimes that I've lived that I want to forget, right? And that if I brought that into this reality, that it would definitely impair me. That's why it's in the unconscious, right? I'm sure there are unconscious reactions and triggers and things that I do that I don't know about that are from past lives, right? And um yeah. I just want to know, like, what are you like? Just out of curiosity, right? Do you feel like do you get a sense of like what my superpower is?
Sure. Do I have permission to tune in with you?
Yeah.
So by the way, I'm not just like always tracking all this information about people. I have to like have permission. Otherwise that would be
She
insane.
didn't Google me or anything.
Yes, I wasn't like peeking into your soul records or anything. Yeah. Let's see what's most useful. I always tune in by asking like what's most important to know about, this being or this moment. What's most important for us to see, feel, or remember. And then I feel a huge wave of support, and I feel contact with your guides, your councils, your higher self aspects, your higher dimensional aspects, the teams that you work with. Every single person has so much abundant support. Someone on your team is laughing. They're like, we don't remember the last life because we don't need to. All of the memory is in the body, is in the DNA. We do have the memory if we choose to look at it. If we choose to actually feel what's here, we already have it. We have everything we need. They say, you said it yourself. We have it all inside. And so when I ask about your gifts, you have a really cool, I feel it's like an ancestral guide to like an older man, like grandpa energy, like just support, like a lot of support, maybe great grandpa, like really loving, supportive, very angelic presence. And I feel like you have a lineage of, it's maybe not in your immediate family, but it's like maybe a generation or two behind. There's like a very strong, I want to say, like leaning towards the health field, like energy. It's energy healing, but maybe it took the shape of like doctor, medicine, nurse, like these kinds of more like kind of 3D professions, or like even like, yeah, working with the body.
Mhm.
But yeah, really, so saying that to affirm that in this life, you have a great gift of working with the body, working with the body, the physical body, helping people to build, probably helping yourself and other people to build bodies in a way that help to support the more energy that they're called to work with to actually stabilize in the body. So you have a gift to really work within physicality, healing the body, but using energetic technologies as well to help heal the body. So I could see you being really good. And I know I know nothing about your background really, but I'm just seeing like maybe if you're interested in like quantum healing or quantum technology or like supplementation or these kinds of things, you'd be really well suited to helping people get their health on track so that they can do like high performance activities and also like things like stem cell growth or like alternative therapies to help them like after injuries, recovering from immune disorders and things like this, because you understand the energetic root causes of where a lot of these different ailments or pains come from. You can really help people get to the root of their pain. How's that landing?
I just love it. I love it. Right. What do you feel like when you connect in that way, right? When you connect with me energetically or like that at the being level, like what does that feel like?
I just feel in my heart. I feel like that's my favorite way to connect with people. I feel like I just dropped in even more into this moment and I just love being here. It's so fun and we could just go anywhere.
What is it? What are my guides like, man? Like I don't know. Like that's interesting too. Like I love all of that.
Yeah, you have a lot. Well, I felt so strong, like the family. Do you have someone like that, like grandpa or great grandpa, you're strong connection with?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And is the medical something around like medical field or healing the body? Does that run in your family?
Um, like I have a long line of nurses, RNs that are in the family. So
Okay, cool. Yeah, that's what you're saying. So that's fun. So it's just everything is all designed, even our biology, our ancestry, like it's just all perfectly designed by our soul. You know, it's like I'm coming into that family and I'm gonna like carry on these patterns and these unconscious traumas and complete them, but then transmute them into my gifts in this unique way. And I just love that. Yeah, and your guides, I'm seeing a really strong, it was mentioned the connection to the angelic realm. I feel a huge energy on my left side as I speak to that. So they may come to you through feeling more like a clairsentience, a sensation of like energy, especially on the left side. You're working with your feminine, opening this up more through the channeled communication, through the messages you feel called to share as you open up more of your emotional body, they say. You're going to start to allow more of the angelic support in. There's a rebalancing of the hemispheres of your body, kind of your field, getting a bit like rebalanced. So there's been a hyperdominance, as you said, on the right side or the masculine. And so now opening up more to the feminine, soft, just receptive space. And then you're going to have really cool, it sounds like clairsentience, so the ability to feel more energetically, but it also feels connected to me to like clairaudience. Like you might already hear, it's coming in very fast, by the way. Your guides like really want to talk to you. They're like, me. They're like lining up. It's so funny. So they're like really want to be in communication with you. And you can communicate with them just by what we're doing now, just by consciously, you know, pretending it's real though, having a conversation with them. And, but I want to affirm something I'm seeing. It's like clairaudience. Oftentimes, when people have a strong connection with the angelic realm, they can really get messages through tones, through sound, through music, or they can read between the lines of what someone's saying and they just really understand the higher meaning. They can like hear the soul speak, is what your guides are saying. So you have a gift for that. It makes sense you're doing podcasting and sharing stories because it's about carrying frequency and vibration and energy, and it's helping to elevate consciousness on the planet through this work that you're doing. And you may hear more sounds through music. Like you can hear like your guides may be communicating to you through sounds. Like if you ever hear like suddenly a song comes to mind, or even a song is playing, but you're called to listen to a really particular part of the song. And it's a specific message for you. Like it's a very specific message. You probably see the angel numbers. You said the law of three. So very strong connection with the angelics in this way, and just validating that, and that you can communicate with them anytime and just be more in conscious communication. They want to talk to you, they want to help you, but they can't intervene unless you ask. This is like the biggest, there's no complaining in this realm, in these realms, but if there was to be a complaint, the biggest one I hear is like, ask us for help and be in contact with us, you know, especially with our ancestors and with our guides. They're just like waiting. They're just waiting for us to make contact, and frankly laughing at us a lot for how much we try to do things on our own.
Hmm. All of that hits. All of that hits hard too, right? Like, because I do hear like a buzzing or like a something in my left ear, like right, like it's not all the time. It's just like it's very noticeable when it happens.
That's the
And
rebalancing. Yeah, they want to say that's the field rebalancing. And when that happens, it's a signal for you to really drop whatever you're doing and breathe. Breathe really deep, bring your energy all the way down as far as you can, connect with the earth, and this will help your field to stabilize in the repatterning that's happening. You're opening up to more receptivity of dimensional information as well. So you may start to see your intuition, just your intuitive sense get even more heightened. And this will be enormously beneficial for all you're creating, of course, as long as you choose to listen to it.
sure. What is that ascension though, right? Like when we receive energy, when we attune to that energetic, right? Energetically in our bodies, what is the ascension process? Like I know I felt like recently, like probably in the last 6 months, like there is like an electric shock almost that runs through my body when I feel different energy levels, right? Is that ascension? Like what does that mean?
Cool question. Ascension to me is the process of embodying our true selves in our cells. It's kind of an alliteration, but that's how my guides say it. And that's how I say it. It's like we are embodying ourselves. Ascension used to mean, in other references, we blast out into higher realms and we ascend out of the body and we return to source, or we become, you know, energy beings or whatever it is. It's like ascending off the planet, becoming an ascended master. We're already ascended masters to an extent. The souls that are here on the planet at this time, we're mastery, you know, level souls. And my understanding of this timeline that we're in now is that we're here to really embody in ourselves, and that we actually, it's a descension. We come into the body, into form. And the more fully we are here inside this physicality and this vessel, the more access we actually have to stabilize higher frequency energy, data, guidance, inputs, you know, through our bodies. We can translate it more effectively. We can see more clearly. More of our abilities come online. More of our capacity to create comes online. And I mean, I just want to be like full X-Men already, you know, like I'm ready to remember how to teleport and fly and like move stuff with my consciousness. I mean, that's what I know we are able to do such amazing things with these bodies. Like we're just barely even scratching the surface. And the more we allow our consciousness and our unique frequency to descend and embody into our cells, the more of our DNA activates, awakens, and remembers these abilities, and the more capacity we have to really be fully alive and online as, you know, just like the fullness of who we are.
Do you think we can do those things? Like truly like teleport?
Yes.
Is this from the future? Is this
Yeah.
information from the future?
Yes.
Sydney from the future. What does that mean, right? Like when I'm talking to you and you speak the words that I am from the future. What does that mean, right? Like I mean, but honestly, like this is a moment, right? This is my moment in my reality. So everything doesn't it all just fold into this moment anyway? Like isn't the future and the past right now?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. You got it. That's
So I
right.
answered my own question. Yeah. What are we even here for?
Have fun.
I know, right? That's what it's all about, is to be the 4-year-olds that we're here to be, right? Like to explore and to stop living in this freaking illusion that we we freaking imprison ourselves, right? Like we show up here in this reality and we got to play by rules, we got freaking laws, we got to make money, we got to live in this house, we got to live by gender roles, socioeconomic statuses. Like we've all placed these little prisons upon ourselves, right? Like, let me get your opinion on this, right? Like, how do we free ourselves from that?
Well,
I
to
mean,
get there,
that's not a small
to
question,
get
I
the
think,
answer, you'll have to read my new book.
right?
But seriously, I think I attempted to answer. I love impossible questions like that. I love it. It's like, I love, that's like the essence of all of my work, is to attempt to answer these impossible, unfathomable questions that lead us to create new worlds. So I love that question. And I genuinely am serious in saying that, like, I wrote this book about like my experience, what I learned, what I went through, what I had to practice to arrive into this, into the most present state I've ever been in. And I'm just going to keep going deeper and deeper. But for now, it's like, wow, like, I found some keys around presence, around embodiment, around how we can really free ourselves from these, you're right, these supposed prisons, these supposed prisons of limitation, of duality, of separation, of suffering. Like one of my missions or passions in life is to alleviate unnecessary suffering. Like there's so much unnecessary suffering we could just stop if we knew that we just didn't have to go through it anymore.
Sure. Sydney, this has been amazing, right? Like we'll have to do this again. Where can people buy the book? Where can they find you and connect?
Thank you. Yeah, it's been such a pleasure. I love how we went into channeling playtime. That's my favorite. Yeah, my new book is called I'm Ascending. Now what? And it's all about authenticity, embodiment, owning your power, and living your purpose. And it comes out June 20th, so really soon. And I'm going to be doing a book tour and traveling around sharing about it, which will be so fun. You can learn about the book at imascendingnowwhat.com. And then all my work is just my name, sydneycampos.com.
Sydney, this has been amazing.
Thank you.